my work focuses on using satellite imagery and artificial intelligence and software to map and monitor what's happening on the Earth's surface, and particularly I focus on mangrove forests. Mangrove forests are found throughout the tropics. They exist along kind of all the coastlines and river deltas and river mouths, and these basically form a niche in the intertidal zone. So if you're in the UK, for example, think of salt marshes. So for example, in Aberystwyth, just north of here, we've got the Dyfi Valley, where the train line goes in and out of the town, and there's a salt marsh there. So if we were in, say, a tropical area, say Indonesia, you might well find that that was a mangrove coastline. So you'd have these mangrove trees growing there. And mangrove trees can, in some areas, say like Gabon, can grow up to 60 metres tall. But if you're at the more kind of latitudinal extremes, like the Middle East or southern Australia, they'd probably only be a few metres in height. And the reason why they're important, the reason why we're interested in them, is because of the ecosystem services that they provide. So, for example, they provide all this coastal protection. So if your village that you're living in is behind a mangrove forest and you have, say, a cyclone or something come through, then you end up with this storm surge, kind of very large waves. And one of the jobs that the mangroves do is that they can reduce that wave energy. They're also quite carbon dense, so they're one of the more carbon dense ecosystems. If you take the amount of soil carbon with the amount of kind of above ground carbon, i.e. the amount that's within the trunks and the large branches. So they kind of can be good for mitigating climate change, but also for fisheries. So a large proportion of the fish that are eaten throughout the tropics use mangroves in the juvenile parts of their life cycle. They also filter water as the runoff as it comes through and into the ocean. So there's a part there of providing clean water. As with many ecosystems, there's lots of pressures on a mangrove ecosystem. So one of the biggest ones is anthropogenic change. So us as humans going in and, say, cutting mangrove forests, say, for aquaculture ponds, so for farming shrimp, or agriculture like rice or palm oil. Our work here in Aberystwyth has largely been around using the satellite imagery and AI to be able to map and monitor these changes in the mangrove ecosystem. So we've produced mapping that goes from the mid-80s all the way up to present, and we're just releasing our new products, which are released in July 2026. And these new maps go from 85 to 2025 as annual maps in mangrove extent. And this is kind of quite an improvement over our old mapping that only went to 1996 and didn't provide mapping for every year. These data are provided through the Global Mangrove Watch portal. So this is an online portal, globalmangrovewatch.org. The interest in these new products is that not only have we been able to kind of push the mapping further back in time, but kind of by making annual maps, we've been able to understand in much more detail kind of what the trajectory of change in mangroves are. And this, our work and the work of others, has shown that kind of not only have we had lots of losses, and something about 60% of those losses are due to anthropogenic or human-based losses, but also we've also seen lots of gains. It may be a good news story for mangroves that we've seen these gains, and these gains have largely offset a lot of the losses. But if that means that we are kind of destroying kind of habitats in the wider catchment through deforestation or mining, then that may kind of put some caveats to that good news story for mangroves in terms of this gain that we're seeing.